All right, Goranga. Okay, that's very good. Okay, what is this? Okay, very good. Acha. See. It's interesting. Let me just. Okay. That layer, core there. Start recording. All right, here we are, everybody. So we're going to start now. We're also live on Facebook simultaneously. Sorry for keeping you devotees in New Zealand up late. I have to apologize for that. But we're going to have a Bhagavatam class. And for those of you in Europe, we got 2 devotees in Europe so far. We're going to start our Bhagavatam class. So first we chant Jai Radhamadava. Today we're going to be talking more about the Kaliya serpent and his pastimes with Krishna. So Jai Radhamadava first. Jaya Radhamadava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radhamadava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Malaba Giribarud Hauti. Gopijana Malaba Giribarud Hauti. Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Hurad Hamadhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Hurad Hamadhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Malaba Giri Baradari. Gopijana Malaba Giri Baradari. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranda Gunda. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranda Gunda. Yamuna Tira Panachari. Yamuna Tira Panachari. Joyurandhu Madhava Kunja Bihari. Joyurandhu Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balaba Giribaradari. Gopijana Malaba Giribaru Hanti. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radhamad Huva Kunja Bihari. Jai Radhamad Huva Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya, also Tara Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Chalana, the Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnav Vrind Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Huilas Thakur Ki Jai, Parem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopakavita Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Kiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Maturanam Ki Jai, Jagannath Swami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Dalasi Devi Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. So today we are going to be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 16th chapter, text 29. And we're going to try doing a screen sharing for you all. Let's see. All right. Move that to the side. Okay, good. Okay. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So you can follow along. Tasyak Shivir Garalam Udvamataka Shrasu Yat Samunamati Nishvasato Rushochahai Nrityan Padanu Namayham Babuva Pushpahai Prapujita Iveha Puman Puranaha. Okay, and then we'll do this with the melody from the Brahma Samhita. Tashakshivir Garalamudva Matasharasu Yad Yat Samunamati Nishvasatorushochay Richan Pananunam Mayam Damayam Babuva Pushpai Prapujitakiveha Puman Puranaha. Again. Tashakshivir Garalamudvam Matashirasu Yad Yat Samunamati Nishat Satoruchochay Richan Pananundamayang Damayang Babuva Pushpai Parpujitakiveha Puman Puranaha. And one more time. Tashakshivir Garalamudvam Matashirasu Yad Yat Samunamati Nishvasatorushochay Richan Pananu Namayang Demayang Babuva Pushpai Prapujitakiveha Puman Puranaha. All right. And then we'll go on to the word by word synonyms. Let's see. How can I? All right, wait a second. All right, I think I see how to do that. Okay. Let me just move this to the side. Let's see it. Okay, there we go. Tasha of him. Akshibihi from the eyes. Garalam, poisonous waste. Udvam Mataha, who was vomiting. Shiratsu, among the heads. Yat, yat, whichever. Samunamati, would rise up. Nishvasatacha, who was breathing. Rusha, out of anger. Uchahai, heavily. Richan, while dancing. Pada, with his foot. Anundam Maihan, making bow down. Damayam Babuva, he subdued. Pushpahai, with flowers. Prapujitaha, being worshipped. Eva, indeed. Iha, on this occasion. Puman, the personality of Godhead. Puranaha, original. So the translation is, exuding poisonous waste from his eyes, Kaliya would occasionally dare to raise up one of his heads, which would breathe heavily with anger. Then the Lord would dance on it and subdue it, forcing it to bow down with his foot. The demigods took each of these exhibitions as an opportunity to worship him, the primeval personality of Godhead, with showers of flowers. I'm going to repeat. Exuding poisonous waste from his eyes, Kaliya would occasionally dare to raise up one of his heads, which would breathe heavily with anger. Then the Lord would dance on it and subdue it, forcing it to bow down with his foot. The demigods took each of these exhibitions as an opportunity to worship him, the primeval personality of Godhead, with showers of flowers. Okay, let's go back. All right, stop shader. Here we are. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit, and then we're going to do a little bit of an analysis, if that's all right. So, what's happening here is the eyes of Kaliya, which basically mirror his consciousness, as they say, the eyes of the mirror of the soul. The eyes are manifesting poison. Just like there's an interesting saying in English, if looks could kill, we'd be dead, basically. So sometimes you see that someone looks at you like, oh my God, that's dangerous. So, of course, we're not snakes and we can't exude poison. But another explanation given by Sanatana Goswami is that Kaliya is experiencing one of the Sanchari Babas. The other day we talked about the Ashtasataka Babas, and he's saying that Kaliya is experiencing extreme bliss in the mood of anger. So this anger he describes is coming from love. And so Sanatana Goswami and Sridhar Swami, who is the original commentator on the Bhagavatam, they analyze the words Arusha in this particular verse. Let me get my book out again. Which means they take that as anger arising from love, or also without anger. Yeah. Just say Rusha. Let me go back to the. Yeah. Rusha. So they actually take it Arusha or Rusha. Rusha means out of anger, and Arusha means without anger. So it's interesting this analysis. So another interesting statement here is the two Sanskrit words Damayam Babhuva. Now it's translated in the book as Damayan Babhuva. He subdued. And Sridhar Swami also analyzes that as Dayayam Babhuvam, that he subdued Kaliya with compassion. Daya means compassion. So his kicking was actually compassion. So anyway, these are different analyses of what's happening by the acharyas. And so even Sridhar Swami comments, put this book down, find somewhere to put the book down. Even Sridhar Swami comments that even Krishna was shocked by all the mercy that Kaliya was getting. So it is quite shocking that Kaliya was getting so much transcendental mercy. So even Krishna was shocked by it. So let's talk about it from a different angle of vision. Uh, that Kaliya is, hopefully it's not getting blurred. There we go. So Kaliya is exuding poison, and from his eyes, from his mouth, and just exhaling everything. So what does this represent? I mean, actually, the pastime did take place, but it also represents something else in our own lives. That by the progress of devotional service, as we progress, we get rid of something called the anarthas, and we exude them. What I mean is, let me give the example of how Prabhupada replied sometimes when the devotees would ask him a very interesting question. And that question was that as we progress in devotional service, they would say, Prabhupada, I'm chanting more, but I'm feeling more anarthas. And Prabhupada would reply in a very interesting way. Prabhupada said that one reason you're experiencing more anarthas is, and then he gave the example of making ghee. When you make ghee, then all the impurities rise to the surface. I don't know if any of you make ghee. The way to make ghee is you put the butter in a pot. There's one way of making it. There's many different ways of making it. There's an Indian way of making it where you make it from yogurt. You churn the yogurt and everything. But anyway, this is how I learned, how Prabhupada taught me. So you put the butter in a pot, and then, of course, the pot is put on the fire. Very, very low fire. And usually it takes hours and hours and hours. And then gradually the ghee clarifies, but the impurities rise to the surface. And when they rise to the surface, you have to take a spoon or a spatula and skim off the surface. And when you skim off the surface, you take the impurities and you put them in another pot. And of course, with the ghee impurities, you can use them for other things, but the whole point is it's the impurities. And when you're finished, and it's a long process, sometimes you heat it up, you let it cool down, you heat it up a little bit. You can't heat it too much. Because if you heat it too much, the ghee burns, and then the ghee is useless. Burnt ghee. I've seen devotees do that. So you have to be very, very careful. And that's like the progress of devotional service, that you don't want to start jumping to a higher level than you're actually at. And I find this is a very common phenomena. I'm comparing this jumping, of course, to heating the ghee too quickly or with too hot a temperature. I was reading yesterday this interesting book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the commentary by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's called Bhajana Rahasya. And in the commentary, we're going to be speaking about this in a few minutes, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the commentary gives the prerequisite for understanding one's spiritual identity. And oftentimes I get this question from various people. That is, how can we understand or how can we know what our spiritual identity is? Or how can we meditate on our spiritual identity? So this is a common question. So the answer Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives is that one has to be on the stage of a Shakti. If one is not on that stage of a Shakti, and I will describe what that stage is just in a few minutes, if one is not on that stage, or maybe in tomorrow's class, if I get to it, if one is not on that stage of a Shakti, then guess what happens? Then one's attempt to understand one's spiritual identity becomes a cause of deviation or fall down from Krishna consciousness. One gets bewildered. One is projecting one's material conceptions upon the absolute truth. So it's quite dangerous. Now, Shakti is a very high stage. Okay, let's put that aside for right now. So in other words, as one's progressing in devotional service, the impurities come to the surface in the sense you become more aware of the impurities become more prominent so you can work on them. Just like if you are cleaning your house. And right now, I am learning how to clean my house because nobody else will do it. I'm in lockdown. The greatest austerity I've ever done since joining the Hare Krishna movement, learning how to clean and mop my house. It's torture. No, just joking. So anyway, so when you're cleaning your house, sometimes you have a rug that covers everything, like a throw rug. They have these Indian rugs and or Arabian rugs, whatever type of rug you have, and then you lift it up, and underneath is all the dirt. You didn't notice the dirt before, but it's been under the rug the whole time. And it's like that. And I experience that because I don't have any rugs in my house. But I experience that when I start moving things around, I see the dirt that was under those things for a long period of time. So, therefore, it behooves me to actually clean up. So, being aware of the dirt or having the dirt become manifest or having one's anarthas come out, like Kalia will come out of the eyes, that's actually a good sign they're coming out. But good sign, and you have to be aware of them and you have to work on them. Okay, so in that light, we're going to talk about anarthas today. That's a brief introduction. Hopefully, we have time, and maybe we'll take tomorrow's class in doing this too. So let's talk about anarthas, and I am going to discuss anarthas from this interesting chart, which I'm going to show you. And don't worry, I'm going to magnify it in a second. So the point about anarthas is that there are different categories of anarthas, and we are going to discuss them. Some anarthas, anartha, of course, for those of you who don't know, means unwanted things. Artha means something you want. Sometimes artha means money, which is probably what you want right now that you're locked down and may not have a job. But anartha means something you don't want. Things like lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, fear, bewilderment. These are anarthas, things you don't want because things that keep you from realizing your spiritual nature. I was listening to a class this morning, and one professor was speaking to Prabhupada, and he said, I can give up greed. He said, but I can't give up lust. So, lust, anger, greed. So it's very hard to give up these anarthas. So the anartha nivritti is the stage that one goes through in devotional service in which one gives up the anarthas. And I'll describe when that stage occurs. So some anarthas, if we look at this nice chart, I'll try to magnify it for you, are caused by weakness of the heart. In other words, what that basically means is that one's heart is not focused on Krishna. One's heart is basically in the mode of ignorance. So these anarthas manifest as attachments to many objects not related to Krishna. Of course, if one is a pure devotee, it's interesting. One sees everything is related to Krishna. Like Prabhupada said, pure devotee sees everything as prasad of the Lord's mercy. But that's not us right now. Every object is related to Krishna. But when you see them as not being related to Krishna, that's the anartha. But really, every object, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. I can give you so many verses where Krishna says that everything comes from me. If you see things without relationship with me, that's illusion. Pratevatam na pratyayata, na pratyayata chatmani tad vidyadatmano mayam yata basha yata tamaha. So, Anyway, so this weakness of the heart, I'm not being focused on one's goal, not giving your heart to Krishna. This weakness of a heart, anarthas, can be cured by giving your heart to Krishna, loving Krishna. So deceitfulness, fault finding with others, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Uh, Being envious of what someone else has. Actually, whatever anyone has is coming from Krishna. Whatever you have comes from Krishna. So when someone can sing better than you, just like yesterday, the last 2 days, I've been very much appreciating the singing of Genevieve Harrison. Some of you may know her. Very great singer, and also this group called the Lumbari. And I'm just appreciating it. So they can sing better than me. Great, wonderful. But someone else would be thinking, "Oh my God, they're singing better than me. This is hellish." And then connected to that is desire for fame. So these are particular anarthas we need to vomit out. Sorry for using the word vomit out, but just like using the analogy of Kaliya vomiting fire, eyes, and everything like that. So we need to give these things up. We become aware of them, and we give them up. Of course, we're talking about weakness of heart. We give them up by focusing our heart to Krishna, on Krishna, on pleasing Krishna. Just like I was thinking this morning as I was chanting my japa, because I'm chanting my japa, but I'm in touch with the temple because I can see the deities during Mangalarti. So I was chanting japa during Mangalarti. Sorry about that. And I was thinking, I'm chanting japa to please Krishna and Radha and Krishna. And by doing that, the japa actually became more focused when I was doing that. I'm doing it not for my benefit, although it is for my benefit. I'm not doing that to get material things, but I'm pleasing. And if I'm inattentive, it doesn't please them. So in that way, these things will be given up, like envious desire of fame, etc., like that. So let's go on to the next group of anarthas that are connected to offenses. And we commit offenses against the holy name. I think you all know the 10 offenses against the holy name. I'm not going to go through that again. So we have to be very attentive as to whether we commit offenses. My statement is that if we actually think of pleasing Krishna as we're chanting for Krishna, to please him. Like I gave the example the other day, the devotee said to Prabhupada that, I felt so much ecstasy in kirtan. And Prabhupada said, the kirtan is to give Krishna pleasure. You're thinking in the wrong way. You're thinking in the enjoying spirit, in the nectar hound or whatever you are. So we should be thinking, giving Krishna nectar, pleasure. I'm chanting, I'm dancing for Krishna pleasure. That's why Prabhupada many times, when the devotees were dancing in kirtan and they were dancing like the bugaloo or the twist. Some of you may not remember the twist. So they were dancing some other type of dance. Prabhupada would say, no, dance as Lord Chaitanya danced. Of course, devotees can dance in ecstasy sometimes in other types of dances, but dance as Lord Chaitanya danced. The arms raised, Gauranga. It's so pleasing. Just like sometimes I see Radhanath Maharaj dancing, and it's very nice. He's dancing like Lord Chaitanya danced. He's thinking of Lord Chaitanya, which is very, very nice. It's what we're thinking of it. So the other type of offenses that are aparad offenses to the Lord's form, somehow or other being envious of the Lord or whatever, thinking that, I am mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most attractive sannyasi of them all, or whatever. Going to a manicurist or pedicurist, which I don't go to. And then offenses towards devotees. That's actually the most serious type of offense. Because other offenses, it's very easy for Krishna to forgive. But when you offend Krishna's devotees, then they dust on their lotus feet. Even if the devotee forgives you, may not forgive you. Very, very dangerous. Like we mentioned the story the other day about Ambarish being offended by Durvasa Muni, and Durvasa Muni was just like harassed by Krishna's Sudarshan chakra until he begged for forgiveness from Maharaj Ambarish. Very, very serious. These are different types of anarthas we're talking about, and then offenses towards other entities. Other entities means we should not offend any living entity. If in the progress or of our devotional service we have to do something like take a plant, we should realize that that plant is a living entity and the plant is offered to Krishna. By being fully engaged in Krishna's service, then Krishna says, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayami masuchaha. Then you're freed from the effects of any of these different uh, offenses you may have committed inadvertently because you're engaging living entities in Krishna's service. And here's another one. Ooh, that's a big one. Asatrishna, material desires. This is another like category of anarthas. And some of them overlap. I know, that one overlaps the other different categories. Desire for material objects, desire for heavenly comforts in this world, like the princess and the pea, with many mattresses. I think some of you know that story. Just this body will not be comfortable. Desires for mystic powers. Some people do this Kundalini yoga and they think they're going to get some mystic powers and they end up in trouble. Of course, there are mystic powers. Bhukti Mukti, Siddhikam, Sakalaya Shanta, Krishna Bhakta, Nishkamataye Vashanta. This is actually a description of the problem with all these anarthas of the Asatrishna category. That whether one wants power, mystic powers, heavenly comforts, material things, or mukti, then one's mind will not be peaceful. And without a peaceful mind, you can't be happy. So that's a satrishna. So even the desire for liberation to get out of this material world is an artha. Because why? It's self-centered. It's not based on love. See, bhakti cures all these things. Bhakti means devotion, pleasing the object of devotion. Then all these different anarthas, they automatically go away. It's like when the sun rises in the morning, all the different shadows and darkness and everything disappears. Krishna's Surya Sama, Maya, Borya, Andakar. That means Krishna is the sun, Maya is darkness. So just bring Krishna into your vision, into your hearing, into the object of all of your senses. And then all these different problems go away. But you have to be aware of them too, because when these different anarthas rear their ugly head, like Kaliya with his poison, it reared its ugly head. When these different anarthas rear their ugly head, it's an impetus to focus your mind on Krishna. Let's say, you have some desire. Let's say, okay, let's say I look at the best computer, okay, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to have that computer. Somehow or other become lusty for a computer. I guess that's my problem. So let's say we do that. We become attached to some material object. So the way you get out of that attachment is not, ooh, get rid of the attachment, get rid of it. Oh, I can't get attached to that computer. Kick it out. No. The way you get rid of that attachment, oh, that means that I have to chant the holy names more. I have to focus on Krishna more. You take it in a positive way. You don't get rid of anything, take it in a negative way. Oh, I'm so greedy. Oh, I eat too much. Oh, achahara prayasas mantra. Anyway, all these things. Becoming aware means you don't have to really just deal directly with the anartha, but you deal more with when you start chanting. Just like when I take rest at night, I chant myself to sleep, not with cartels, not mridanga. I chant in my mind, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And then we are dreaming about Krishna. So this is how you deal with these anarthas. Anyway, so the final category of the anarthas is illusion about spiritual knowledge. In other words, not knowing what the truth is. It's called, whoops, what happened there? Okay. It's called Tattva, Tattva Vibrama, illusion about spiritual knowledge, not knowing the truth. That is illusion, just going over the categories, illusion about one's own identity, like who you are. These are called Tattva. Tattva means things that are eternal truths. As Krishna says in the Gita, Nastate, he says, though, wait, let me, anyway, I forget the Sanskrit over right now, but those things that continue to exist are true, and those things that are just temporary, like a soap bubble, are considered in one sense untrue, even though they exist for some time, but then they cease to exist. Okay, so illusion about one's own identity. Who are you? Well, I'm the body. That's illusion about one's own identity. I am American. And things connected with the body. I'm a member of a particular family. I'm white, I'm black, I'm purple, whatever, I am a academic. I'm a Brahmin. I'm a Vaishya. I'm a Shudra. You have all these different, upadis, designations. So just think about all the things that we think we are or connected with because of misidentification. Just think about it. I'm just young. I'm old. There's so many things. So what are we? We are, so the way to get rid of this anartha is just be aware of one's real identity. You have to know something called sambandha gyan. Sambandha gyan means understanding the tattvas and the relationship with each other. Understanding the soul, understanding God, understanding the material world, understanding karma, understanding all these different tattvas, and seeing how they interact with each other and the energies of God. Okay, so that's how you get rid of that anartha. And paratattva means illusion about God. In other words, one may think that God is, it's like the prime mover philosophy, that God started this material world and then, he's so much aloof, he's off on his own. No. But we have the philosophy of Achincha Beta Beta Tattva, that God in one sense is everything, and in another sense he's different from everything. Like the sun is expanded everywhere through the sunshine, and the sun is localized apart from the sunshine simultaneously. That's called Achincha Beta Beta Tattva. So one has to understand the philosophy that Lord Chaitanya has taught us, which is, one and different simultaneously, inconceivably. And then here's another one, and this is one we mentioned a little bit previously, Sajja Sadhana Brahma, which means illusion about sadhana and prema. In other words, one may think that one is more advanced than they actually are. This is a big one, really big one. I mean, maybe not for those who are just joining Krishna consciousness, but generally we like to think we are really advanced and we are on a higher level of devotional service. So, for example, we may think that we understand our spiritual identity. We love Krishna. I mean, I remember when I first joined the Krishna conscious movement 300 years ago. No, actually, about 50 years ago. It seems like 300. That I was reading Prabhupada's Krishna book, me and the other brahmacharis, and we actually thought we understood our spiritual identity. We looked at each other and said to each other, after reading about Krishna and the coward boys, we're all coward boys. Yeah, coward boys sounds good. Why? Because we were all young men and in the mood of playfulness and everything like that. 20-year-old people. Uh, Actually, the brain doesn't mature until you get to be about 35 or 40. So we were actually thinking, because of our bodily situation, our age, our association, we actually were projecting our material illusion upon the spiritual reality. And so we were convinced we were coward boys. So, so one may be an illusion about sadhana and prema in that way. Prema is very high level. Bhava is a very high level. Ashakti is a very high level. I think probably tomorrow we'll get into discussing that. This is very, very high level of devotional service. And so basically prema, for example, means you're willing to do anything, even to go to hell to please Krishna. You love. Love is just like bhakti is just like overwhelmed your consciousness. So you're willing anyway to surrender and do anything. And then, okay, we touched enough upon that. And then the final category of anartha is called viroda vishaya brahma, illusion about unfavorable subjects to Krishna consciousness. Now, what does it mean, unfavorable subjects? One may think that they can engage so many different things in Krishna consciousness, subject matters, but they just like take you away from the ultimate goal of life. So, how to avoid that? Well, basically, one needs to associate with the acharyas as one advances more in devotional. So, of course, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, reading the commentaries of Srila Prabhupada's books, and some of the other books that Srila Prabhupada recommended. I mean, like Jaiva Dharma. It's very interesting. I was listening to a discussion. Prabhupada was talking about which books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that he considered most important, and he actually said Jaiva Dharma most important, and he wanted the devotees to read it. Of course, after you read Srila Prabhupada's books, after you become expert in reading Srila Prabhupada's books, that's another thing. But we have to be very careful not to jump up and start reading things that we're not on a level capable of understanding. That's another type of anartha. For example, one may be reading prematurely the Govinda Lilamrita or other intimate books that deal with Radha and Krishna's pastimes before one is on the platform of a Shakti, which is a very high platform in devotional service. So anyway, so these are different categories of anarthas. One should become aware of these things. I'll go back to me. And also, just to finally talk about our discussion about anarthas, there's 4 places that anarthas come from. Sources. Today we talk not so much about sources, but the categories of anarthas. So anarthas come from sinful activities, obviously. If you do something vikarmic, actually the word sin, that's such a heavy word, forget about it. In the Christian world, because we're all coming, or many of us are coming from the Christian world, we actually feel revulsion towards the word sin. We're all sinners. So let's say vikarmic activities which cause a reaction. So if we do vikarmic activities like eating meat, like things you all know about, then, well, hopefully you know about, then that can cause anarthas, or these types of bewilderment we mentioned before. Anarthas also come from pious activities. Why pious activities? Because if one's executing pious activities, one is subject to the mode of goodness. Krishna in the Gita says the mode of goodness confuses one. One gets a sense that one is falsely happy. Anarthas come from, besides that, they come from offenses against the holy Dham, offenses against the deity, offense against living entities. We mentioned that before. Offense against devotees. One has to be careful. Use another source of anarthas. And the final source of anarthas mentioned by Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur is the anarthas come from the byproducts of bhakti. That is, as you progress spiritually, then one gets bewildered thinking one is advanced or more advanced than one is, which we mentioned in the previous analysis of the anarthas. And as a result of thinking you're more advanced than you actually are, you become prideful, and which is very, very dangerous. And also the profit adoration distinction one gets when one becomes a little advanced. People will praise you and say so many nice things to you. And if you're not ready to give that praise to your spiritual master and just say, well, it's by his mercy, it's by Krishna's mercy, by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, then at that point, that becomes a deviation from Krishna consciousness. So anyway, so tomorrow we'll continue. I think we'll continue with the same verse because I wanted to go further on, discuss anarthas, and show you some charts, which I'll give you a brief introduction today. And this is one of the things we're going to be dealing with. The progressive path of devotional service is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, from Madhya Leela, 3rd chapter, text 14 to 15, which is actually one of the key verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we're not going to deal with that today. So anyway, it's time to end class. Does anybody have any questions about any of the things we asked? We don't have that many people here on Zoom, but I would assume we have quite a few people. On Facebook, which most people are watching. Oh, Gopinath, you're there. It's amazing. You joined us. That's fantastic. All right, so does anyone have any questions? All right, Lalita Sundari, you have a question. Take yourself off mute. Okay, great.
What if we don't have this strong desire?
Can you speak louder?
Yes. What if we don't have the strong desire to please Krishna? Is it better still to like chant for his pleasure, or should we beg that we get the desire to please him?
Well, I think both things. We associate with people who have a strong desire. Like when I hear from Prabhupada, read Prabhupada's books, I mean, my desire to become Krishna conscious increases exponentially, dramatically, exponentially, geometrically, arithmetically, increases tremendously. And if you're having trouble focusing on your japa, then you should pray for the desire to please Krishna. If you don't have the desire to please Krishna, then at least you should want to have that desire, right? And then if you don't want to have that desire, then want to have that desire. If you don't want to have the desire, then you should want to have that desire. But basically, if you wanted, my realization is that if you really want to focus on your japa, you adhere the sound vibration of the japa, you have to be doing it out of love, to please Krishna. We're chanting the japa to please Krishna, please Guru. Then your japa can become much more focused at that point. Does that make sense? So, who else has a question? Anybody else have a question?
Gurudev, Praneshwar.
Oh, Praneshwar from India.
Yes.
Wow.
Gurudev, like, how to check self, like either we are get bewildered.
How to take what?
In the devotional service and bewilder. Either we get bewildered, like to compare with the other devotees, and some devotees is doing the good service and self. whether we are in the right track and the right path. Yeah, we are distracting ourselves from Krishna consciousness.
Well, we always have to keep an association with devotees. Of course, that's kind of hard nowadays that we're locked up. So we associate on the internet. I mean, we should.
Yes.
I mean, it's really important to always be with devotees, and I'm seeing that. Now that I'm just locked up here, I'm just doing this on the internet, associating with people all the time, talking to people. I mean, even after this class is over in about half an hour, I have a conference call with another sannyasi about something. So just keep the association. That's the key. Use the internet now that you're locked up to associate with other devotees.
Yes.
Okay. So, and hear from Prabhupada. I mean, I one thing I find very interesting is that, I use this device and I have all Prabhupada's. You can get it in India for nature. It's very easy. They sell it at the temples. So I use this device and I hear from Prabhupada every day. And every day I'm thinking that Prabhupada is talking to me and telling me and correcting me and telling me things. So, who else has a question?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev.
Leela Avatar, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your lecture. And I have one question about what for reading other scriptures like Venu Gita.
Yeah. Like Venu Gita.
Yes.
I would say we should become expert in Srila Prabhupada's books first. I mean, there's a lot of things in Prabhupada's books that are extremely important. I mean, each time I read the Bhagavad Gita, I get new realizations. Anyway, I love the Bhagavad Gita. I try to read one chapter of the Bhagavad Gita a day. It's just nectar. If you try to unpack each word in the Bhagavad Gita, and of course we're not expert in Sanskrit, but still, the English words, Prabhupada's words. I mean, I'll say something a little bit controversial. I like the original editions of the Bhagavad Gita because it, just really is. Anyway, I feel much more connected with the original editions. Anyway, not going to go further into that. It's too controversial. So, any other questions before we end? Questions or comments or arguments or problems?
I have a question, Gurudev.
Yes, Prema.
I have a question regarding this illusion about sadhana and prema. So illusion about one's advancement.
Right.
Because this is a very dangerous anartha, and I was just wondering regarding this pride, because for as long as we are still materially conditioned, we are very vulnerable to becoming prideful. And even if we are trying somehow, still there are so many layers of this pride.
Yes.
So if you could give some.
Shoo. That's a
Yes.
whole 2-week analysis of layers of pride. I don't think there's time for that. But as soon as one thinks that one is important, that one is the center, that one is spiritually advanced, then I would say the pride is manifesting itself. Like Lord Chaitanya even said, he said, I'm not a devotee. He said, if I was a devotee, how could I live being separated from Krishna? So if we could just contrast ourselves, thinking, for example, like every time I chant Hare Krishna, I don't feel any ecstasy. How could I be advanced? Just like that's one easy way to conquer it. I mean, I say Krishna. I mean, here I am on Zoom saying Krishna, and I'm not feeling ecstasy. Something's wrong. I mean, at least internally, it's not that you should take that as a means to criticize me, because Guru Maharaj didn't roll on the ground because he said Krishna. But at least internally, I mean, just look. What did you dream about last night? I'm not asking you directly. I'm just, as a rhetorical question. You know, did you dream about Krishna last night? What did you think about when you woke up? Did you feel ecstasy hearing the Bhagavatam? Did you feel ecstasy chanting? No. You know, so all the, just examine this, you know, your life and your experiences, and then you can actually see if you're advanced or not. I mean, it's just like, it's a real humbling experience. I mean, it's really humbling, but also it's ecstatic because it makes me appreciate Prabhupada more and appreciate Krishna and see how merciful, just like the story of the Kaliya serpent. It's amazing, the compassion, like we unpack these words here, Dayayam Bahu, that Sridhar Swami did. It's amazing, the compassion. So I just become amazed with Prabhupada's compassion upon me. And, you know, here I am, you know, I was thinking like this morning, here I am acting like a guru. And then, you know, what Prabhupada is actually, you know, so compassionate. Krishna is so anyway, so these are different ways of dealing with pride. Just examine your life, you know. I'm so proud. I'm a great devotee. I'm sitting on a big throne. You know, am I feeling any happiness, ecstasy when I say Krishna's name? All right. So I think we.
Gurudev, can I ask 2 questions?
Yes, you can ask 2 questions. Your permission.
Thank you, Gurudev. Gurudev, in 1.3.15, there is a statement which says contradiction between Sripad Sridhar Swami and Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur regarding inundation with every change in Manu.
Yeah.
Enlighten us, like, how do I understand? Is there a contradiction?
Let me explain. This is not a contradiction in Siddhanta or Tattva. This is just details. And sometimes there's different opinions and different interpretations of details. Acharyas will have different opinions in deep details on how to execute, you know, the different details of bhakti. Like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, for example, he was very strict in dealing with his ashram and who could live in his ashram and who could not live in his ashram, whereas Prabhupada was much more open. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had very strict rules. You know, he said anybody who's back in the temple, this is one of his rules, has to chant 64 rounds a day if they're not going out for preaching. And so Prabhupada didn't do that. Prabhupada first asked us to chant 64 rounds, then he reduced it to 32, then he reduced it to 16, and no less. So those are details. And so there's details about, you know, whether there's an inundation, and, you know, other things, you know, I was thinking about this morning, like the details, like how far away is the sun or the moon? Like you'll see statements of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's, you know, as far as astronomical details that aren't the same with Srila Prabhupada's. So these are just details. But talking about Tattva and Siddhanta, there's never any difference of opinion.
Yes.
That's the point. You know, it's just detailed whether there's an inundation after every day of Lord Brahma or when Lord Brahma goes to sleep or whatever. It's not Siddhanta, it's not Tattva.
Okay, Gurudev.
One has to really look beyond those particular details. What's the next question?
Gurudev, while reading Krishna Katha or hearing, sometimes there's characters from the serials or from the cartoon. Like, is it one should, I mean, I want to get rid of it, but it still keeps coming to my mind.
You mean Krishna cartoon or Mickey Mouse
Yes.
cartoon?
No,
What are
no,
you-
Krishna cartoon or characters from the Ramayana and Mahabharata we watched when we were in India.
Oh, yeah.
Like as soon as we
I
said,
mean, actually, I've watched those things too, and I just actually, when I hear the descriptions here in the books, then I actually become more, I wouldn't say critical, but I understand where they were off. For example, I've read the Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, several times, and after I've read it several times and understand most of the details there, then I can look at the film and say, well, this is the deviation, like that. So yeah, anyway, it's a small thing. Just read the books, and then one will understand these things. Okay, I think we have to end now. If
Gurudev,
that's all right.
can I
Uh-oh.
request one thing?
Yes.
Gurudev, just after this meeting, it's regarding Krishna Chandra Prabhu. I wanted to talk to you for 5 minutes or so.
Okay, yeah. We can have a 5-minute talk, okay?
Yes, Gurudev. Thank you, Gurudev.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk. And then, okay, I think Leela Avatar just had one more question. Everybody's.
Yes, I have one more, if I can. We need to do something specific about our natars, or we can just pray to Krishna and chant more.
Well, I think to become aware of them, and if they express themselves, don't give vent to them. In other words, don't physically, externally, verbally manifest them. And then to take care of them, we go to Krishna. We take shelter of Krishna in different ways. Is that all right?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, I think we have to end. But before we end, I wanted to, let me say, I'm going to let you take darshan of Radha Golokananda as they're being greeted right now. I'm going to, give me 1 second. I am going to put you on Mayapur TV through this thing and let you see Radha Golokananda. Yeah, all right, 1 second. And so, because we miss greeting the deities. And hopefully, there we go. Give me 1 second. And we're almost there. Let's see. All right, Zoom. Give me just. Here we go. Here we go. So everybody can see the deities?
Yes, Gurudev.
So we miss creating the deities. Radha Golokananda ki jai. Actually, I should offer my obeisances to the deities. So, anyway, so you get a brief darshan. You're all welcome to come visit. Okay, I guess that's it. We'll see everybody later. And Nalini Kant, we can meet separately after this is over, all right? Why don't you call me on WhatsApp? You have WhatsApp? Okay, so call me on WhatsApp right after we end this. Okay.
Okay,
All
Gurudev.
glories to Srila Prabhupada ki